Hello, this is testing. We will be starting our session in 9 minutes. Just hold on. Tushar, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, perfect. I can hear you. Thanks. We will be starting in 3 minutes. We will be starting in a minute. We will be starting in a minute. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the session of MentorPad. So, in the audience, we have people from IIM Bodh Gaya, Vishakhapatnam, Amritsar, Ranchi. So, welcome to all of you. And in the panel, we have Ruchi Gupta, who will be taking care of the questions that you'll be asking. He is a structured trading. He works in structured trading desk at Nomura. And we have Tushar. He's a trade shopper marketing manager at Philips for the entire South Asia. And me, I am Ankur. I'm a finance manager at General Electric, having experience in supply chain, planning and analytics, and commercial finance. So the plan of the session is that first I will be covering the basics of the what are the expectations of the different firms which comes to the institute. Next, I will be talking about the HR questions and how you can prepare them. A third, I will be covering the major industries and what are their expectations. And after that, so this will take approximately 30 minutes. And after that, I will hand over to Tushar. So he will be taking care of the entire session on the sales and marketing. So let me get started. So who are we? So we are a initiative from IIM Ahmedabad, IIT Bombay, and IIT Delhi alumni. So we seek to connect professional individuals and recent graduates of top institutes to students at universities in order to help them make informed, relevant career decisions and choices. So in our board of mentors, we have consultants, investment bankers, traders, entrepreneurs, lawyers, some 100 percentilers, students at Harvard, Stanford, Columbia, many IITs and IIM graduates, and also we have a surgeon. So our basic aim, our vision is that we don't we ensure that the batches after us don't make the same mistakes that we made during our career prep, and does in a way just make a tangible difference in the lives of the people. So, so after this session, you would be having a couple of questions, and one of the major question would be how to get to us. So, if you want to schedule a one-on-one session with either of us, with either of the mentors, you will find a lot of mentors on our app. So you can just download our app from the Google Play Store, and you will be able to find a lot of mentors there. There will be some people from consulting background, some from investment banking, some sales and marketing, some operations, and much more. You can also find us on our Facebook community. So in and this is the community where you can keep yourself updated of the events that we regularly host. And the third thing where you can find us would be our site. And so in this site, we have a carefully curated list of mentors who have actually taken time and written about their journey, written about their success stories, and whatever the takeaway should be for the aspirants. So with that said, let me move on to the first topic. What do I am what do the recruiters look at IIM for? So first of all, these are your final placements. This is not your internship prep. So obviously, the expectation of the people would be much more because you have already gone through the 2 years rigorous training. So first of all, they would want to know what are you, do you know who you are as an individual? So there is there's no one who is bad. There's no one who is really good. The only thing is that whether you know who you are, and do you know how to portray yourself? Do you know in which position you are best suited for? Next thing that they want to know is that whether you understand the industry and the company that you're getting into. So, suppose if I'm a if I am a recruiter and I'm hiring from, let's say, PNG, so I would want to know that you're getting hired for which kind of role, which all brands do I own, which all brands do I own as PNG, and where you will you be working if you get selected. So that's the basic expectation that everyone would have. Another thing would be, so you all are from IIMs, and obviously the expectations is much higher from you. Straight out of college, you will be either leading a team or making sure that the people even elder to you with much more work experience to work. So obviously they would want that you have a clear thought process and you know how to put your points through. So obviously the communication skill matters. You should know the basic concepts of not just the field that you're in. You're a management student. You should be able to answer questions even in a sales and marketing interview of something related to operations, because at the end everything is interlinked, and since you would be in a managerial position, there is no Chinese wall, there is no clear demarcation between where your role ends and where the other ones begin. And obviously there should be a general sense that you should be aware of whatever is happening around you. So for example, I will get back to the example on the PNG. You should be able to answer that which all brands they have launched in the last year, which all have been the blockbuster brands, which all have been, let's say, a failure. You need not point out the failures, but you definitely need to know that there was some problem in that and your reasoning behind it. And obviously, with every successful brand campaign, every successful campaign, you need to understand why did it click. So all the questions will be answered towards the end. We had a couple of questions, which you had filled in the form. So we will be answering them towards the end of the session. And right now, just bear with us, and we will be covering the HR questions in the next part, and probably some of the questions will automatically be answered. In the meantime, you can obviously keep on posting your questions in the comments box, and we will again take this up at the end. So yeah, so first of all, you need to understand what you are. So, and hence the topic, building your storyline. You need to understand where your journey has been. So if you are going to lead people, the least expectation from you would be that you understand what you are. So there are three important parts in those. One is your identity. Remind yourself who you are. So where do you come from? Where do what do your parents do? Where did you study? Where have you worked before? These all things needs to be part of your these all things that you should all be taking care of. Next thing would be the challenges. So obviously in the 25 years or 26 years of your life, you must have faced a lot of challenges. It can be in terms of educational, it can be in terms of financial, it can be through a tough exam, anything. So troubles with family as well. So what all challenges have you faced, how you recover through them, and how they have shaped you as an individual? Your passions. So as you know that one of the basic components in a CV, at the end you always mention what your interests are, and there is a reason for that. So not at the end of the day, whenever a person is hiring you, it's just not about only about work. So you are going to be part of his team, and 100% of the conversation won't be just about the work. You would be talking about your outside interest, and that's why your passions come into play. And your if you have passionate about something, you have organized something, you played guitar, you played chess or something, you're passionate about something, that indicates that you are connected to something, and probably you will be able to deliver that during this job as well, if your job becomes your passion. So next, so this was the overall storyline, how you need, what you need to definitely do before you get into an interview. Next, what we will be moving on would be the HR questions, and we will be specifically taking some of the questions and how you need to prepare for them. So first question, whenever you get into an interview, that is define yourself. Tell me about yourself. Give a candid description about yourself. Tell us about the major transition points and the factors that have influenced you. So this is the icebreaker. This everyone would ask, and in 99% of the interviews, you would have to come up with this answer. And the funny thing about this is that it can go on for 2 minutes, it can be cut short for 30 seconds, it can be even 10 seconds. So you need to make sure that you put your point across in a very clear, concise way, and you know what your transition points are. You have self introspected, you have made a self assessment of yourself, and you know whatever you want to talk to in the place. For example, if you start going on chronologically, then obviously if you are cut short, you will miss out on the major details, and you are just telling you about the school and everything. You will miss out about the college times, how you actually overcome some difficulties, overcome a challenge, delivered your best, something of that sort. And in this particular question is the best way in which you can monitor the interview. So if you screw up in this, there is absolutely no way that you can bounce back. If you say something that is contradictory to, so let's say if you're talking, so in the starting you were talking about one thing, in the end you are talking about something else, and those are 2 points are contradictory, interviewers will find that, and the probability of you getting in would be pretty less. So the point is, be coherent, make sure that whatever you say resonates with the CV, because the interviewer would have your CV in front of you. He would be listening to you and just going through your CV. Make sure you highlight whatever your major transition points are. Make sure you highlight what your vision is, what your value system is, and you will be good. You're good to go. Another major question that is asked is the major strengths. So in this, most of the people generally say, I'm hardworking, passionate. So, but it's not an objective answer. So you need to prepare a storyline. You need to have a proper instance or proper uh, story backing up your claim that you are actually a hardworking person. It's a good strength to have, being hardworking, being passionate, but you need to back this up with a story. And probably if that can resonate with your CV, that would be the best thing. It can be as trivial as, let's say, organizing a club. You were a leader of a club. It can be as tricky as that you've won the Olympiad. But at the end, it needs to resonate with overall your personality and whatever you want to communicate. So yeah, moving on. So next question would be the self-improvement. And I am sure that 99% of you must be worried about this particular question. And personally, when I was preparing, I also faced the same challenge. So there would be always people advising you do this, do that, always say something, some weakness that is actually not your weakness, but actually your strength. So those are very tricky statements. How can your weakness be your strength? That's idiotic. So the idea is that whatever you say, it has to resonate with your personality. In the first point, that is about yourself, it that whatever you conveyed there, whatever your CV is conveying, it has to resonate with that, and whatever you personally think that you actually face. So you can't hide something like, let's say, if you have some communication challenges, you can't hide that fact. You are in the interview, he knows that you are facing some trouble defining yourself. Why don't you say that this is my personal improvement area and I want to improve this, and I am doing this to improve. And obviously, whatever improvement areas you point out, you have to indicate how you are improving this. It is not just about self introspection, it is more about you understanding yourself and how about making yourself a better person. And I would also like to point out that one of the things that I've seen people do that is they say that I'm a work alcoholic. I don't even know what that means, but it actually is a disease, and you should definitely not say that. It's not something that everyone knows that you're making this up. And once a person has an idea that you don't know what you're talking about, he will definitely not trust you for the entire interview. So another HR question that would be asked would be your significant professional achievements and it significant achievements basically. It can be professional, academic, some extracurricular or anything. So here you can talk about your exams, probably. You can talk about some passion of yours. You can try to deviate him towards wherever your passion is. Try to bring him to wherever your strong suit is. Probably the follow-up question will be about whatever your achievement has been, and try to make it more interesting for the person. And once you do that, the ball will be in your corner. You will be able to guide the interview. So yeah, so now we will be covering all the industries which come to the campuses for hiring purposes. So we will be skipping the sales and marketing part here, and we will be covering that in greater detail at the end in the later part, in like 10 minutes or so. So Tushar will be taking care of the sales and marketing part. I will be covering the rest of them. I will be just giving a brief outline. Obviously, you can ask your questions. You can just put them on the comments, and we will definitely help you. So with that said, I will start with the operations. So some of the firms that are actually come to the campus for operations would be your Uber, your HUL, PNG, everything. So basically without executing a particular deal, the business can't survive. And that's where operations comes into play. Operation is about cost cutting, it's about executing, it's about making sure everything is done on time as per the plan, as per law, everything. So, what are the expectations? So, I understand operations is a very tricky subject. There are a lot of sensitive topics like queuing. You will have different differential equations, this, that, higher amount of mathematics, but you're not expected to know that in an interview. If you know that, very good. If you don't know, it is all right. But you need to know which all equations, how it plays, and how it works. So you need to know what are the best practices in different industries. So if you're talking about assembly line and you don't know about Ford, that the who invented the assembly line, then you are missing something. You need to understand which are the best practices right now. So if you're talking about operations and you don't know that how the logistics are maintained in a different firms, it can be specific about different industries. So for example, if I talk about my firm, GE, in those, if you talk about operation, it includes the execution, the freight, the your logistics, and those kind of details. And in other firms, like you have HUL, it would almost be the same, but it would also be covering a much major density, and they would have different models, hub and spoke model, this that model. You need to know which all models there are, and you should have a genuine interest in the operations. That would be indicated by, let's say, you have you have some examples, you have some good examples, you have good trivia about what all things are happening in the industry. So I hope you know about that Amazon plan to launch a drone for delivery purposes. And obviously your HR questions will definitely come into play. And so in all these topics, so we will be covering operations, finance, consulting, and e-commerce. In all those, HR questions are definitely the must. They will definitely start from the HR questions, and then they will dive into the technical know-hows. Some of the myths that we face is that you need to know a lot of equations, you need to be able to solve problems. That's actually not true. So in the actual world, operations, as I told, it is more about managing logistics, executing a deal. It's not just about solving a queue problem or making sure or understanding how many people should be there on the front end, on the customer service. Aptitude will be tested, but it is not the only thing that will be tested. And it's a big myth that the on-ground knowledge you will learn in the job, you need to be a little bit passionate about the operations field. And knowing the best practices, and with the best practice established already in the world, obviously your role won't be redundant. It is an evolving process. As you know, in India also you have this e-commerce boom, you have this that boom, and obviously everything evolves, and that change. Just hold on, give me a second. Yeah. So moving on to the finance. So in finance is a very broad field. So I am a finance guy. The other person, Ruchir, is also a finance guy, but we are totally working on different industries. And so we will have private equities, you have VCs, you have markets, you have normal firms in which we do corporate finance. All of these are a perfect job opportunity for you. I know some of the job might be a little stressful, a little bit challenging, a little bit uh, based on the market right now, it might not be a little bit favorable. But yeah, these are all job opportunities for you. You need to know the technical fundamentals. So if you are going into a, let's say, corporate finance interview and you don't know what is a balance sheet, where does, let's say, account receivable sit, then you definitely won't be able to convey that you are actually passionate about this thing. That's the 101 of finance. you, you need to understand how. So even in a corporate finance role or in a markets role or in investment banking, you need to understand the macroeconomic awareness. It can be about what are the various monetary policy, what are the various fiscal policies, tax regimes, this that, which are actually coming in, how the economy is shaping and how it will impact your industries. So the people in sales and marketing operation will be expecting you to understand all of this and make sure that they understand. So this would be one of the tasks, one of the jobs that you will be facing. And obviously understanding of the industry, which phase is it in, your key competitors, etc. This is expectation. And some of the myths that we encounter is that only IITs get the job. Definitely not. If you're passionate about something, if you have something like, if you have done, let's say, CFA, if you have done, let's say, FRM, if you have done any exam that can convey that you're passionate about this particular field, then you can definitely get into finance. And it's not just about accounting. So in most of the firms, in, let's say, even in corporate finance, if you're hired in a managerial position, you won't be doing just the accounting part. That's what other people are for, but that's what your team would be for. Your main aim would be to interpret, drive business decisions, understanding the health of a P&L, profit and loss statement, and your balance sheet, and how the business is moving. And you have to deliver on the P&L. And the so goes with the sales and marketing, so goes with the operations. You will be measured on the financial parameters. So everything, your operations, your finance, your e-commerce, your consulting, your sales and marketing, they will have individual KPIs and your performance will be measured on that. So you can't evade this particular topic. You need to understand the basics of it before you get into an interview. With that said, so before I move on, if you have a lot of questions about, let's say, finance, you can refer to the link below. So if we keep on conducting some sessions, and we had a lot of finance guys actually come there and answer people for, and answer questions for aspirants, and you can find that particular, find the blog there. So now moving on to consulting. So consulting is mostly about having a structured thinking, having a good problem solving skills, and ability to think on the toes. So you will be thrown into a situation in front of a client, and he will be telling you about some things, and then you have to convey him. You have to understand first of all, then you have to guide him. So imagine a person doing one particular thing for 10 years. You have to guide that particular person. So you have to think out of the box. You need to have and you need to have a particular problem solving skills, break down complex problems, proper. You have to build a network with the opposite person. You need to indicate that you have industry knowledge. You need to be able to learn fast, and you need to adapt fast, because the other person will kill you. So one of the myths that we actually face when we actually talk to the people, or is actually prevalent in most of the IIMs, is they need to have a lot of spikes. Well, yeah, it is not entirely false, but you need to have some spikes, but spikes is subjective. So the one person who is interested in, let's say, academics, he will be thinking that my academics are my spike. He would be telling to the other people that your extracurriculars is not a spike. That is not true. It is a subjective thing. Do whatever CV you have made, that is perfect. You can't change that. Go apply to the different firms, and let the consulting panel, the interview panel, let those guys think whether you have the spikes or not. And trust me, it can be a very trivial thing. It can be something that, let's say, you played in one of the major events, in one of the inter IIM events, in you played guitar in inter IIM events. That can be a spike. So it's a subjective thing. It's based on the person who is reading your interview. Who is reading your CV. It is based on the HR who will be screening your CVs. It can be based on your seniors or whosoever. But definitely go apply for it, and don't get worried that you don't have spikes. It is, even if you don't think that you have spikes, the HR panel might be thinking something different. So the last field that I would be covering would be the e-commerce. So you know that it has only been 3 years, and this sector has changed our lives forever. So there has been huge investments. They have been the powerhouse. They have put in a lot of opportunities, a lot of job opportunities, a lot of job opportunities for the IT people, for the operations people, for management students, and it is still on. So the expectations whenever you get into an e-commerce firm would be that you know the KPIs, you know your key performance indexes, you know how to measure the health of a portfolio. You will be most likely be leading a category or a product, and you need to understand how to measure this, how to measure the health of this, whether you are actually making profit or loss, how your uh, how your growth is there, and that's how. For marketing role inside e-commerce, you need to understand how concepts like your click rate, your search engine optimization, your conversions, retentions, acquisitions, social media, basically. You need to be having a good grasp for digital marketing, growth hacker concepts. You need to understand that how in the digital way, in the digital media, how you can actually promote your product, and how the other people are doing it, how you can make it better. If you get into an e-commerce interview, and probably if you don't know about adverbs, they would be judging you. You need to understand the basics of the whichever field you're getting into. So for supply chain, so e-commerce would offer you marketing role, it will offer you supply chain role, it will offer you category management role. That's how it is. For supply chain, you would need to know how the warehousing is done, logistics, inventory management, service rate. So most of the things you will actually learn on the go, but you actually need to understand that this is part of your job. So if they ask you what do you think your job would be like, you need to understand that, you need to convey that this is part of my job. If I'm leading a category, I need to understand what my warehousing would be, logistics would be, etc., etc. That's it. The common myths that we actually see would be that this is not the right time to go into e-commerce. Yeah, actually, so you must have heard the startup bubble has bursted, this, that, but it is definitely a time to go into e-commerce. This sector is not going anywhere. It has changed our lives forever, and it's not, and there is nowhere we are going back. Knowledge of finance will not be tested. As I said before, it will be tested a little bit, and most of the other points I have already covered. So next, I will be moving on to some of the questions, and then I will be handing over to Tushar. So I will be covering some of the HR questions that you had asked before, and after that, Tushar will be taking care of the sales and marketing part. Just give me a second. Let me just open the. So, Shubham Pandey asks, how should I go about an interview? I mean, how to structure it well. I think I covered how to structure it well previously. So it will start from the about yourself. It will start from how you actually convey your strong points in those fronts, and just make sure that you're coherent. Just make sure your values and everything is highlighted there, and then you move on and highlight your strong points. And so the first check would be about yourself, about candidate description about yourself. That's the first level where you can actually make uh, determine how your interview will go. The second step would be when you're talking about about the HR questions, you can keep on narrating about instances where you actually want interviewer to ask questions. So Harshal asked the sales and the career growth prospect in sales and marketing. This Tushar will be covering. And Ganesh asked how to handle issues of vernacular accent. So there is absolutely there should not be absolutely any issues about the accent that you have. Known as long as you're clear, as long as you're able to put your point across clearly and confidently, that's all that matters. You will be working in multicultural team. Most of the companies that comes to IIM generally have people either supporting abroad or working for some. It's basically an MNC, and within MNC comes multiple culture, and you need to understand. And so vernacular accent would be not be a problem. You need to be passionate. You need to understand, compassionate about the other people's culture, and be confident about whatever you're saying. So Akshay asks, what are the things that can be asked if the interview stays in the end? So in the end, that's a fantastic question. So at the end, whenever the interview is done, the interviewer will definitely ask, do you have any questions? So there can be multiple responses to that. So first thing would be based on how your interview went. You can say that I had a question. So we were discussing about this particular topic. So how your firms fares into that. It can be on the spot questions based on your interview, whatever you are discussing. Let's say you are having a consult interview. You are discussing about this particular project. Whenever your discussion ended, one particular point didn't come in the front. You can ask about the point. You can ask about what the market, how the market is, this, that. Another thing would be this would be a perfect time to indicate how much you have done your homework. So, for example, you can talk about how much you know about the firm, whatever their latest products have been, and ask some questions about it. That's so. Whenever you get a shortlist, just make sure you Google that firm. You understand how it has been faring, what all products it has, what all things it does, and then you can frame your question on the basis of that. Should location preference be mentioned at the time of the interview? See, if you are very stringent about the location, then you should go ahead and mention your location preference. But if the firm is, this can actually come up after your, let's say, first round or the second round. If you're selected for the first round and the second round, in the third round, you can bring it up. Alternatively, you can also bring it up after you got selected. Most of the firms are very employee friendly. They will be willing to listen to if you have a genuine request. But if you have a very strong issues, if you have to be in a particular place for a particular amount of time, then you definitely bring it up. It won't do you any good. It won't do any the into a panel and good. So about later placements in new IIMs. So this would be your placement to team would be much better be able to guide you on this. So it is specific to the IIMs, and we won't have the exact rules and regulations about your IIM. Do companies offer JDs in which both marketing and operation area of work in title? So if I'm understanding your question properly, you are saying that there any job description which entails both marketing and operations? Yes, there is definitely is. As I mentioned before, there is no clear distinction between the roles. So a marketing guy might be taking care of some operations. A operation guy might be taking care of some marketings on the ground. And if you get into e-commerce, you will be handling the finance as well, finance, marketing, operations, everything. So it is dependent upon the firm, but there is no clear buckets. I am in a corporate finance role, but I have done marketing projects. I have helped my marketing team drive a lot of things on the ground. So same ways, there are jobs which offer marketing and operations combined. I cannot figure out exactly what to prepare for placements. So that's a good question. So first of all, if I were to think, so first of all, you need to prepare your HR questions. You need to self introspect. You need to understand what kind of person you are, what what personality you want to convey to the interviewer. You need to be sure upon that. Second thing that you would want to do is that you would want to learn about the whichever field that you're applying for. Let's say you are passionate about operations, just go to the book. So go through your notes, read about what all things you learned. It can come up. You need to. So for example, in operation, you need to know about the Little's law. It might not be used in the industry, but it's the basic. It's the operation 101. At least the name of it, you should be able to relate that this was related to this particular category. It was not. You can't say that you don't even know what Little's law is. And that with that said, and obviously there will be some trivia that you would need to prepare, some information that you need to prepare from online purposes based on the firm that you're applying into. So the last question, Shank, would be that if there is no GD, how to prepare from the GD, but we prepare from the JD, but it is sometimes not enough for the recruiters to know the basics of the JD. They expect in-depth, in detail knowledge, working of the profile. That's perfectly right. You are on the spot. That's exactly why we are here giving you this lecture. So we want to tell you that how do you look at? And so JD is just one part of it. There are obviously unsaid items which are not part of the JD. And for that, you can either contact your seniors, or you can go to our, as I said before, you can go to our app or the Facebook link, and we will help you connect with the people who have actually worked in that organization before. They will be able to guide you much better. But yeah, you can obviously, if you are not willing to do that, you can obviously Google. But I would recommend definitely taking advice for some particular senior of yours, or you can talk to us. We'll be definitely willing to help. So, with that said, I will be handing over to Tushar, and if the time permits, we will be taking care of. So, I see some questions on the comment section. We will be taking care of the rest of the questions at the end, if the time permits. So, I have already shooted my slot by 5-10 minutes. So, sorry, Tushar. So, over to you.
Yeah, hi everybody. So myself Tushar, I work with Philips in the trade and shop marketing domain. I handle South India and Sri Lanka as well. So as you can see on the slide, we have jotted down some certain questions submitted by you. So first one, so current, I have been into the system since more than 1.5 years. I did my management trainee stints for around a year, and I've been handling this role since 7 months. So I have worked in sales. I've worked across domains. So I've worked in sales as well as in marketing. So having worked both in sales and marketing, what is the difference in the learning and the lifestyle? Okay, so in sales, the learning would be. So I used to move around. I have moved around to different localities, different places, different geographies. The current role I am working in is more to do with the consumers, and the one in sales, when I was working in sales, I was working with the dealers or the retailers, and as well as the distributors. So the learning is totally different, because the way you are interacting with the dealers and the distributor is different than you observing the consumers, right? So that being it. Second is different sector, different tactics. So I have, so according to my experience, so I've interned in Raymond, which is a apparel firm. All of you might be knowing. So I worked in a go-to-market strategy project in Raymond. Currently, my role in Philips entails that I have to look after the BTL activities. Okay, so so me, when I was undergoing my MBA, right? So at that point in time, I even didn't have this idea. There's some domain known as trade shopper marketing. So, so there are quite a lot of opportunities in marketing. If we think of marketing, what does a marketeer's job entail, right? So for him, it is mostly to do with handling the P&L of a particular brand or a category. Okay, so that particular person, that marketeer will be responsible of managing the supply of the product, the production of the product, R&D of the product, research of a particular product, knowing what the consumer trends are, checking out all those things, uh, bringing that product to the market and maximizing the profit for that particular brand, right? So that is what the basic job of a marketeer is, right? So there are different domains in marketing as well. So as I pointed out to you earlier, first is normal plain marketing, that is brand manager role or a category manager role, right? Then second would be this trade shopper marketing, which I am handling. So trade shopper marketing is more to do with the below the line marketing, wherein which means that you how you influence the shopper behavior on floor, right? So that is shopper marketing. Then there is digital marketing, right? So as Ankur was mentioning some time before, as these e-commerce firms have been into the market since like 2 3 years now. Okay, so digital marketing has been catching up quite a lot in today's world. So in most of the colleges, there are not many courses in which digital marketing is actually taught, right? So no need to worry about that. It's not very high funda, or so whenever you are going into a particular firm, right? So you will be your role, you will be given a particular role. So if you end up getting digital marketing, so there will be some hand holding which will be done for you. Okay, so you will be thinking that no, I have not done this, I don't know what this is, right? So you will be getting some hand holding from some person in the organization, that what this role actually is, how things pan out. Okay, right? So that is it. Lastly, I would like to talk about the interviews and GD. So currently, this will be the most important point for all you guys, right? So how did I prepare for interviews and my GDs? So what I did was I made a group of like 6 to 8 people. I was part of multiple groups. So we formed certain groups. We used to conduct GD sessions almost every day. Okay, and I used to carry a book along with me. So what we used to do, we had a repository of GDs which had happened over the past in our campus, right? Some of them from that though of that repository. Then we used to check from a marketing club what all are the possible GD topics which can come this year. So we used to take up those different GD topics. We used to practice that in our group. So that is how we can uh, did our GD practices. And the main reason for us forming groups with different people was that there will be a set of people, there will be a set of people who will be looking at marketing specifically. So you will be ending, like you will end up getting into like at least 2 or 3 of them in a particular GD group, right? So you will be somewhat comfortable speaking with them, right? So if in case you have any hesitation of speaking or opening up in the GD, so that will be taken care of over there, right? For the interviews, Ankur already pointed you out that whenever you are going for a marketing interview, right, you need to know that particular company, be it any, not just marketing. If you're going for even a finance interview, right, you need to know about the company. If you're going for a PNG or an HUL interview, you need to know what the brand, what are their brands, current brand, what was their recent campaign. If if in case they ask you, if in case they ask you, you need to know, right? And someone had asked this question that what is a good question to ask for. So if I were to tell you my GD experience, my interview experience, sorry. So they at the end of the interviewer asked me, do you have any question for us? So I had gone through the website. So if you all of you might be knowing that Philips is an electronics company, right? So at the end of the interview, I asked them simple question. So they have a brand name Avent, which basically deals with baby care products. So what has baby care products to do with a electronics company, right? So I asked them, what is your approach? Like, how come an electronics company is into, uh, say, FMCG product, right? So, is there any scope of Philips moving into, say, FMCG products in the near future? So, questions of this sort indicates to the recruiter that you have interest into the firm and that you have gone through the firm, you know about the firm, right? For interviews for marketing, it is simple. There are very few things you need to look at. You need to look at what are the current trends which are going in the market. They'll be asking you, they'll be asking you some questions. They'll be asked, so if you don't have any experience, right, they'll be asking questions about your internship. What was your internship like? What were you asked to do? What did you do in the internship, right? If there were certain things you could change or you could add to your internship, what those things could be, right? Things like that. Okay, so that sums it up.
I think there's some connection issues. We'll be connecting in 1 second. Hold on, guys.
Hello. There is one question from Harshal Arikar. So his question is, what is career growth prospects in sales and marketing firm? So I'll tell you about sales. So initially you will be starting off. So if it is in an FMCG company, so you will be starting off as an area sales manager. the job profile of an area sales manager entails him to look after distributors in his market. So an area sales manager will be having certain sales officer under him, right? So this will be your first position into the firm, right? So after this, after doing 2 or 3 years maybe in this, you will be moving on to the next role, say a bigger area or a zone, right? It depends from company to company. So in telecom it will be a zone, in a FMCG company it will be a bigger area. So from non-metro you will be either moving to a metro location, right? So you'll be handling a bigger area, a bigger size, right? After that you will be shifting to a regional sales manager position. So regional sales manager will be handling like 5 6 area sales managers. That will be his designation. You will be looking after a state, after a state or two, right? So after regional sales manager is the national sales manager. So the hierarchy is quite flat. It's not that much, right? So that is about sales. After, national sales manager is the highest position in any organization for sales, right? So for marketing you will be starting off as a assistant brand manager. So firms like HUL or PNG, you'll be working as an assistant brand manager. So there you will be taking care of the P&L of a particular brand. Suppose you are in Nestle, right? So you'll be taking care of, say, Nescafe, right? So Nescafe has a lot of different coffees. So Nescafe Sunrise, normal Nescafe, right? So these are there. So after uh, uh, assistant brand manager, you will be moving on to a brand manager where you will be looking after a set of brands, right? So after that, in after brand manager will be a higher role, say category manager, right? So there are not many hierarchies in marketing. Basically to do more and more with bigger set of brands. So earlier you'll be handling say one brand, you will be handling a portfolio of brands. So that is it. That's there are it's not very hierarchical. So there you can shift across domains. So as I told you, as I mentioned earlier, there are different domains in marketing as well. So shopper marketing is there. Then there will be some media planning. So different depends from organization to organization. So HUL will have certain, they'll have a media agency or something of that sort, right? So it depends from company to company what kind of firm you are into. So if you look at a liquor company, right? So for a liquor company cannot advertise, or even a pharma company cannot advertise, right? For them, whatever they do is all BTL activities. So for a liquor company, it's very good that if you end up being in a liquor company, say Diageo or Sab Miller, right? So they have huge budget. So you will have a bomb over there. If you end up being in such a company, you will be having a lot of money to test your skills and to test what you want to do in the market. So that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you, Tushar. I
Yeah.
think let's wait for people to ask questions. I will be putting you on mute, and I will, in the meantime, I will be answering some of the questions that they've asked before. So these are pertaining to business analytics and HR field. So I will be covering that in a little bit, and in the meantime, let's give them the chance if they can ask more questions. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Just hold on. So yeah, let's talk about the HR ones, HR jobs. So first thing I will be covering would be what your expectations should be. And in an interview, obviously, so okay, I will be using the word HR a lot, but okay, your personal self-assessment of yourselves that is measured through the HR questions that you definitely need to be sound in. But also you need to be sound in your general observation, general organizational behavior concepts. So you will probably be taking care of recruitment, you will be taking care of onboarding, you will be taking care of either some events or some disputes and everything. So we have people who are in the leadership program in HR in General Electrics. What they are doing presently is that they are taking care, they are helping one of the leaders to make decisions about whether to hire a person or not. So it is an immense responsibility, and you are the people who will be judging judging the people through their CVs. You generally, there is a specific HR round in all the interviews, and so that's a responsibility. So you, at the end of the day, you will be having a lot of responsibilities, and to prepare for the responsibilities, you need to know which all factors, which all things you need to look forward in a perfect employee, and that's where your organizational behavior, your individual behavior comes into play. There might not be specific questions about it, but you definitely need to understand how a hierarchy operates. Your Japanese firms have a different kind of hierarchy structure. Like organization structure is totally different as compared to Korean companies or Indian companies, and how it plays. What are the trade-offs between having a very huge hierarchy versus having a flat structure in startup? How to be more agile. So, with that said, there are a lot of job opportunities. So you have this. So in every MNC, in every firm, you will have a job opportunity. So I won't go into the job opportunities there, but yeah. So I will be talking about. So how does let's say for one particular example, you have the Tata incident. You need to know that how a particular person was able to tarnish the image of the the Tata, which is like probably the best company in India, best MNC of India. So one person was all the Tata incident that happened, how it was able to destroy, tarnish the image, and these kind of instances happen a lot. You will see one particular person. You have your, you know about the iGate CEO who was arrested for sexual harassment. So how he tarnished the image for the entire firm. You have, let's say, you have Enron. You have one person, one CEO person who, because of unethical practices, he destroyed the entire firm. The entire firm went from $1 billion to $0 like in one night. So that's the impact, and that you need to know. You need to understand some of the examples and where, which all things you need to monitor the organization in. So with that said, the next role that people asked for is the business analytics role. So uh, just hold on. So for business analytics, if you want only business analytics, then e-commerce is the best bet for you. But generally, when you're talking about managerial positions, there is business analytics is part of, let's say, consults marketing. So if you're working in consults or marketing or let's say finance, you are doing analytics, you are doing data crunching. You will be handling a lot of things, like you will be taking care of, let me give you a particular example. If you are leading a particular brand in PNG, and then obviously you need to understand, you will be having a different data, district wise data, different region wise data, everything would be there. You need to make sense of it and drive decisions on the basis of that. So that's where it differs from a undergrad role to a postgrad role to a IIM role. So in the undergrad, you are the one who was doing the number crunching. Here, you are the one who would be driving decisions, who would be looking at the number, making sure there are some decisions taken on the basis of those. So that's your profile. That's how your profile would be. Let me just look at. Just give me 1 second. I will look at other questions. Okay, so Shashank asks, can I switch from insurance sales role to FMCG sales role later in my career? So later is a subjective term. So I would give you one instance: a person who was working in 5 years in a core industry, in actually switched from a firm, a PSU to PNG. So that's one of my friends, and he switched it from an entirely, totally different field. So there are such cases, but if you're thinking about like 20 years down the line, if you want to switch, then probably you can't, because that time your career path is much more set. If you're talking about a shorter period, let's say a couple of years, then you definitely can. You can, but there is a trade-off that you might have to start up from the basics. You might not be able to leverage your previous work experience in this, and but obviously it is dependent upon firm to firm. There are some firms which actually give importance to your previous background. Another case would be that you have all the startups coming up. You're all so whosoever which startup doesn't work out, they actually get hired in some different industry. They might be different industries, but the different industries judge you on the basis of your passion, your actual knowledge about whatever you did, and what your tactics were, what your thought process were. So, can you tell me any certification competition or something that will help me? Sure, I want to take this. So, Tushar, can you? So, hello, Tushar.
Yeah. What's the question?
So, certification competition or something that can help build CV for sales and marketing.
There's no certification as such which you can do for marketing. What you can do is, so basically they look after a particular skill set, right? Okay. So in marketing, you will be like, you need to be in a position of responsibility because you will be working with a lot of people. You will be working with the sales team, you will be working with the production team, you will be working with the supply chain team, you'll be working with the finance team. So you need to be quite handy in managing people, right? So that is one skill set that they will be looking out to. Right. So there's no certification as such you which you can do actually for marketing. Uh, for digital marketing, there are quite a bit of certifications, but nobody looks at them. Right. If it is good if you know about it, but uh, it's not needed. It's not required. Yeah. So that is it.
Okay, thanks, Tushar. So, I would be adding. Let me add a couple of things on this. So, I know you are at the end of your entire journey of the MBA college, but you could have taken some part in the competitions or something. So I'm sure various firms comes to the college to conduct some events, conduct some competitions. Those are a good CV point. Those are good talking point and good learning point as well. So those are possible things that you can take up, or in the period that you have, if you are already have the placement started, probably you can't do anything right now. The as Tushar said, just gain your knowledge, just know your basics, and already being from a college like IIM, and you people know that you know this stuff. So there is no absolute you have a big certification behind you. You have a certification from an IIM, so you don't actually need to get some other different certification just to prove that you know this. Your knowledge matters. Your performance on the spot matters. So, with that said, there is a question from Sashank. Can you tell us more about the marketing roles in banking firms in India, and what are the skills learned in FMCG sales to be helpful for B2B sales like banking? Okay, so a couple of things. In the banking sector, there is B2C as well as B2B marketing. So in B2B, the sales is much more important. So you will have people, let's say, so I will give you an example from GE. So GE Capital, which is a NBFC, which was an NBFC. So whenever they used to market, so they used to talk to different clients, different businesses who want to take loans and everything, and then uh, they will do the number crunching, give them a number. It is based mostly based on building up network, making strong communication, building linkages and everything, and that's it. And if you're talking about marketing roles, there would be sales expect. So marketing roles for B2C would be some about this marketing as well as sales. So if you're talking about B2C, the idea would be that you are building what kind of image you are building in front of the customers. So it can be in terms of your campaigns that you put across, your ties up, your ties up across different, let's say your book my show tie up, this tie up, that tie up. So those kind of things. So your your skills that you will learn would be customer engagement, your client management, your networking, and communication. Those are the four skills that you will definitely learn. So yeah, another question from Sashank. I've had people telling me insurance is not a great sector to start a career. Is it so? What are the opportunities other sector might have? So first of all, insurance is a perfect sector to work in. So I will give you two instances for that. Insurance will always last. Despite every downturn in the market, insurance will be lasting. So there you have life insurances, you have car insurance, fire insurance, this insurance, you have insurance on each and every building. That's a mandatory government regulation. So you can't say that insurance sector is not a great sector to work in. Probably whosoever is telling you that, he might be thinking from a perspective of 10, 20 years or something of the sort, that uh, it is not as fancy as FMCG. It is not glamorous as FMCG or some other sector. But that's a trade-off that you have to make between choosing a stable sector versus a dynamic sector. So if you're expecting to compare a insurance sector versus a consulting sector, that is not, you're not doing justice to the insurance sector. And trust me, insurance sector would be, it is a great sector to work in. It depends upon your choices. It depends upon the paycheck, the rise might be a little less, but definitely in the sector would be growing, and you will definitely get some benefit out of it, and it will last. It will be a stable role. I think I covered this. What are the opportunities this sector might have? I think I covered that, and kindly let me know your views. I covered that as well. So George asked, will you be covering corporate strategy in general? Uh, Corporate strategy. I think that's a very broad topic. Is it a particular role? Probably we can take this offline. It would be a very broad area if you're talking about consulting, if you're talking about overall how the corporates are managed. There would be a totally different areas. I can talk about this topic for like an hour, and we are already at 11. So if if you have any other questions, then you can shoot. I will, George, you can actually ping us on the Facebook group. I will be happy to help you on this. You can also schedule a one-on-one conversation with me on our app, and definitely we can talk about this in whichever detail you want.
Ankur?
Sorry, yeah, Tushar.
I wanted to add just one thing. So this is one question which will be asked by a lot of interviewers. So if you are going for a marketing interview, expect this question to be asked, right? So why marketing, right? So while preparing for your IIM interviews, you would have prepared why MBA, right? So it is as simple as that. You need to have that answer with you. That is one question that is going to 100% going to come to your way, right? If you have interned in a consulting firm and if you are going for a marketing role, right? So this is the very first question which they'll be asking you. So you need to have this answer ready with you, right? So apart from your HR questions, your all your knowledge about brands and stuff goes for a toss if you are not very clear with this answer. So it is same with all, same of say of in finance, why finance, right? Why consult, and why marketing, or why supply chain. So you need to be very thorough. Why do you want to do a particular role, right? Just because you think that HUL is a very big company and I should go into marketing, that's not why you should go in, right? So
That's
that
a
is it.
that's a very nice example, Tushar. So it is so whenever you're doing your interview, it should not appear that you are applying for this firm because your senior wanted to, or you had just heard that this is a very good firm. You should be applying for a genuine interest for that particular field, and that should be indicative on the question, why do you want to do career in marketing? And being for a final placements, this question might definitely appear because you're going to be hired for a long term, and definitely you need to prepare based on the different firms, and then you can mix it up. Okay, so there is one last question that we'll be covering, that is from Ganesh. How does life project weighs versus a corporate competition in perception of recruiter? So live projects, I'm hoping that you're talking about some academic projects, and that is actually on the ground. And corporate competition, that is just like you are reviewing through secondary research. So that's actually it. So live projects is your primary research. You do your surveys and everything. You understand how the market operates, and then you suggest a practical solution. On the other hand, corporate competitions, whichever you find, you will do secondary research, you will apply some models, you will apply this, and then you will suggest the best possible approach that you can think from a perspective of secondary research. But obviously, live projects are much more in depth, are much more so live projects are much more like in detail, and you have to have your basics straight. So with that said, we will be closing the session. So we are already 10 minutes off the time. uh, I understand there were a couple of questions that you have asked. uh, I would suggest that you actually take this up on our Facebook group, and we can actually help you on this. We are already at 11:10, and we don't want to. So we had already just taken 1 hour time from the placement team, and we are already short 10 minutes off. So we will be closing our session here. Do connect with us on the Facebook group. Subscribe to our channel. Uh, Download our app if you want to talk to me, Tushar, Ruchir, or a lot of mentors individually, and we'll happy to take each and every questions in detail there. And I definitely want to take Josh Alexander question about corporate strategy. That's a very interesting question. Okay, thank you guys.